The Curse of Hamster Kombat. Jack, a college sophomore and avid gamer, always looked for the next big thing in the gaming world. When he heard about Hamster Kombat, a new game on Telegram that promised real money for virtual achievements, he was instantly intrigued. The game was trending everywhere, and many of his friends were already hooked. One Friday night, Jack decided to dive in. He installed the app, connected to the bot, and started playing. The game seemed innocent enough. Tap to train your hamster, earn coins, and climb the ranks. Jack found it amusing and quickly became addicted. Hours passed like minutes as he tapped away, collecting more coins and rising through the ranks. But as midnight approached, Jack began to notice something strange. Every time he earned a significant amount of coins, his phone would emit a low, guttural growl. Initially, he brushed it off as a quirky sound effect, but it grew more unsettling with each occurrence. Then came the whispers, inaudible at first, but slowly growing louder, forming words he couldn't understand. He tried to ignore it, thinking it was just a bug or his imagination. That night, Jack woke up to find his phone glowing on his nightstand. He reached for it, and a chilling message greeted him. "Congratulations, you've unlocked the final level. Do you dare to proceed?" Without much thought, driven by curiosity and the adrenaline rush of the game, he tapped yes. Suddenly, the room went cold. The phone screen flickered, showing distorted images of hamsters with eyes that seemed to peer directly into his soul. Jack's heartbeat quickened, but he couldn't tear his eyes away. The screen went black, and then a figure appeared. A tall, shadowy figure cloaked in darkness, with eyes that glowed a deep, menacing red. "Welcome to the final level," the figure hissed. "Your soul is now part of Hamster Kombat." Jack's surroundings began to warp. His room twisted and turned, morphing into a dark, eerie landscape filled with grotesque, monstrous hamsters. Each one bore the faces of the players who had gone too far. Jack tried to scream, but no sound came out. He was trapped. Back in reality, Jack's roommates found him the next morning, sitting motionless on his bed, eyes fixed on his phone. No amount of shaking or shouting could snap him out of his trance. They called 911 and Jack was rushed to the hospital. The doctors couldn't explain his condition. He was physically fine, but completely unresponsive. News of Jack's condition spread quickly. His friends and family were baffled and terrified. Some of them tried to play Hamster Kombat, hoping to find clues about what happened to him. But those who ventured too deep into the game met the same fate, trapped in an endless nightmare, their souls claimed by the dark entity behind the game. Hamster Kombat continued to lure in new players, each one unaware of the sinister curse that awaited them. It became an urban legend among gamers, a cautionary tale of a game that promised riches but delivered only horror. Jack remained in a coma, his mind forever lost in the twisted world of Hamster Kombat, where each tap brought him closer to the abyss. The game, still popular and growing, continued to claim more victims, each one a testament to the haunting power of the curse that bound their souls to its digital depths. And so, the Nightmare of Hamster Kombat lived on, an endless cycle of horror for those who dared to play. The Nightmare of Hamster Kombat. In the dense forest of Vermont, on the outskirts of a small town, lived Lisa, a 16-year-old schoolgirl with a passion for technology. As an only child, she often spent time alone, immersed in the worlds of video games and social networks. One evening, while browsing Telegram, Lisa came across a mysterious message in a gaming chat. Someone was talking about a new game called Hamster Kombat, which supposedly earned real money for virtual achievements. Curiosity got the better of her, and Lisa decided to give it a try. She followed the instructions, installed the app, connected to the bot, and soon the game began. Little cute hamsters appeared on the screen, which she had to train by continuously tapping. Everything seemed innocent and even fun, but soon Lisa noticed strange things. After a few hours of playing, having already earned a significant number of coins, she started hearing strange sounds from her phone. These were not the usual game sounds, but rather whispers, barely audible yet eerie. She thought it was just her imagination, but with each passing minute, the sounds grew louder and more distinct. That night, lying in bed, Lisa heard her phone vibrate. She looked at the screen and saw a new message from the game. "Are you ready to see the true power of Hamster Kombat?" Her fingers trembled, but curiosity won out. She tapped on the message and the phone's screen went black. The room lights flickered off and a hamster appeared on the screen, but now it looked sinister, its eyes glowing red. Suddenly, Lisa felt her hand go numb. She couldn't let go of the phone. Panic set in as she realized she couldn't move. The screen changed again, showing her reflection, but instead of her face, there was the face of an evil hamster, which started laughing. The laughter grew louder, echoing through the room. At that moment, Lisa heard heavy footsteps behind her door. The door slowly opened, and in the doorway stood a tall man in a long coat. His face was hidden in shadow, but Lisa could make out cold, unblinking eyes. He reached out and Lisa's phone flew into his hand. The man looked at the screen and quietly said, "You are one of us now." Lisa felt her body being enveloped by endless darkness. In the last moment before losing consciousness, she heard a whisper, "Welcome to Hamster Kombat." Her parents found her the next morning. She was lying on the floor, clutching her phone, with the game still running on the screen. Lisa no longer responded to their cries. Doctors could not explain her condition, but the next day, several more teenagers in the town experienced the same thing. It is said that those who once heard its whispers now play Hamster Kombat, but none of them return to the real world. The game continues to claim its victims, luring them with promises of easy money and virtual victories that turn into an eternal nightmare. Thus, Lisa remained one of the captured souls in the sinister world of Hamster Kombat, where every victory turns into an endless horror. The Sinister Hamster of Hamster Kombat. Mark, a 30-year-old programmer from Seattle, always had a passion for technology and video games. He loved testing new games and apps that hit the market. One day, while browsing his messages on Telegram, he came across a link to a game called Hamster Kombat. It promised not only fun, but also the possibility of earning real money. Intrigued, Mark installed the app without hesitation. From the very first moments, the game captivated him. Cute hamsters appeared on the screen, which he had to train by tapping. Mark quickly advanced through the levels, earning virtual coins and unlocking new abilities for his hamsters. He spent hours in the game, not noticing how quickly time flew by. But soon, Mark began to notice strange things. Every night when he fell asleep, he had the same nightmares. In these dreams, the hamsters from the game turned into creepy creatures with glowing red eyes and sharp claws. They chased him through dark corridors, whispering sinister words in an unknown language. One night, after an especially frightening nightmare, Mark woke up in a cold sweat. He looked at his phone and noticed a new message from the game. "Are you ready for the final challenge?" Without thinking, he clicked yes. The phone screen went black and the room lights went out. Suddenly, a bright light burst from the phone and a hamster appeared on the screen, but it was no longer cute and funny. Its eyes glowed red with malevolence. It started speaking in a human voice. "You've passed all the levels, but the real game is just beginning." At that moment, Mark felt his body paralyze. He couldn't move, only watch the screen. Suddenly, dark smoke erupted from the phone, enveloping his room. Mark heard heavy footsteps and the sound of claws scraping the floor. The smoke thickened and a figure began to form in the center of the room. It was a gigantic hamster, completely different from those in the game. It was sinister, with glowing red eyes and sharp claws. The hamster approached Mark and, with a menacing laugh, whispered, "Your soul now belongs to me." Mark tried to scream, but no sound came out. In the next moment, he felt his consciousness slipping into darkness. He saw the hamster open a portal to another realm and drag him inside. When he woke up the next morning, Mark found himself still sitting at his computer, but he couldn't remember how he got there. The phone lay nearby with the game still open on the screen, but it now looked different. The main screen showed the sinister hamster staring directly at him. Mark tried to delete the game, but his phone wouldn't respond. In desperation, he tried to remove the battery, but to his horror, he discovered that the phone was sealed. Every time he looked at the screen, he felt an evil presence watching him. Since then, Mark lived in constant fear. He could no longer sleep normally because each time he fell asleep, he had the same nightmares. Soon, his friends noticed something was wrong. Mark became reclusive, avoiding people and spending more time alone. One day, his friends, worried about his condition, decided to visit him. They found Mark lying on the floor of his apartment, holding his phone. The Sinister game was still on the screen. His friends tried to wake him, but Mark didn't respond. They called an ambulance, but the doctors couldn't explain his condition. Mark was alive, but his consciousness was somewhere far away. Over time, Hamster Kombat became an urban legend among gamers. It was said that the game was cursed, and that anyone who ventured too far into it lost touch with reality forever. The game continued to lure new players, promising easy money and fun, but ultimately leading them to the sinister hamster that craved their souls. Mark remained a prisoner of Hamster Kombat, his mind forever lost in the sinister world where each level brought only new horrors. The game continued to exist, collecting its victims, and no one knew how to put an end to this nightmare.